the integration into Korean society at that time is really not a priority for most foreigners. I do have Korean friends, some of which I haven't spoken to in years. If Chinese people come to Canada, they will mostly hang out in their Chinese communities. Politically, socially, there's a lot of issues. Immigration is always hard. It doesn't matter if it's Korea or any other country. Hi guys, Kim Lee here. I'm in Cheonan, and today's topic is integration into Korean society. So as a Canadian that is now living in Korea, how easy or how hard was my integration into Korean society? Well, I have to start by saying that my story is a bit particular. I first came to Korea in 2013, so more than 10 years ago. At that time, I came with a working holiday visa to do some tourism in Korea while being able to work part-time. A lot of Koreans do that in other countries as well, right? Australia, Canada. It's a very popular program for young people around the world. People who initially come to Korea, whether they're tourists or decided to live here or are exchange students, in general, the first year, the first maybe even couple of years, they're really just exploring. They're really just want to explore everything that there is about Korea, specifically Seoul. Everything they've seen in the dramas, in relation to K-pop, food. They're really living the Korean dream, right? As many people call it. And that's what I did too. That's what I did at first when I came in 2013, and even in the subsequent years as I came back as an exchange student, etc. So I would say that the integration into Korean society at that time is really not a priority for most foreigners, based on my experience, of course. The point is really just to live as much as possible the things that we wanted to live in Korea. But of course, as time goes by, you meet people, right, in school, work, in your neighborhood, and you find out that there's a lot of interesting things to do in Korea, and there's more to Korea than you might have thought before, right? It's like, for example, think if you're Korean and you go to Canada, you're thinking, okay, we're gonna enjoy the great outdoors, and we're gonna do a lot of activities. During winter, we'll invite each other at our homes, and we'll play board games, etc. Yes, this is all true. However, you get to Canada and then you realize politically, socially, there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of things that people are fighting against, whether it's racism or other things, So then slowly, as a foreigner, you start to discover this side of Korea, and you start to understand also that the different types of populations that live in Korea. There's a good Christian community, for example. There are people who are very adamant about the story of Dangun. I'm just saying whatever right now. The first thing that comes to my mind, the issue of Dokdo, etc., etc. Yes, this learning is part of integration into Korea, that's for sure. And as a person who studied Korean history, I got to learn a lot about this hidden part of Korean culture while living here and also back home, right, while studying. And with the years, you start to really understand what is Korea, and it's not necessarily bad. I'm not trying to say that there's a very negative side that comes up later. I'm just saying, like any other society, it's much more complex than kimchi and the kimbap and myeongdong, etc. So first, I will say that all the administrative side of immigrating, as a foreigner, you come here, you have to do your 외국인 등록증. This part is pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. The documentation is there. A lot of people do speak English. The problems are few. So I don't think that's really a barrier to integrate into Korean society. That's pretty well done, to be honest. I think that the main issue with integrating into Korean society is building a community, making friends, like Korean friends. I'm not talking about an expat community, which is also fine, but it doesn't help you necessarily to integrate into Korean society. This is a huge topic, by the way. A lot of foreigners have a lot of difficulties making Korean friends. And the number one reason is that they don't speak Korean that well, obviously, right? As I do. I do speak Korean, by the way, but not super fluently. So this is definitely a barrier to making Korean friends. Although I do have Korean friends, some of which I haven't spoken to in years, but I just blame it on being an adult and being in my 30s and not so much on the culture. But I remember when I first came here and I heard the accounts of a lot of my friends here in Korea. We all share this problem of we talk with Korean people and we have fun with them. It can be for a night, it can be they're in your school, etc., or as co-workers. But it's really hard to build a lasting friendship. It's really hard for foreigners to be integrated into Korean circles, right? Of friends, of certain communities, etc. So obviously the younger generation will disagree with me, rightfully so, being much younger. They sometimes do their high school education here in Korea, and that helps a lot in order to build friendship and to be integrated into communities, right, in Korean society. I'd be really curious to know if a person who grew up here completely and did all of her education in Korea, if she's having difficulty having friends here. I don't think that will be the case though. However, as I'm telling you this, I also realize that problem is kind of international, because in Canada too, when foreigners come to Canada, it's also a big issue in Canada how to make foreigners integrate into Canadian society, especially in the province of Quebec that speaks French, where I'm from. We Quebecers have a different culture. Yeah, the integration of foreigners is a constant issue in Quebec as well. What ends up happening in Canada is that, for example, if Indians come to Canada, well, they will mostly hang around with other Indians. Or if Chinese people come to Canada, they will mostly hang out in their Chinese communities. And this doesn't help the integration into another country. And what we've noticed with time is that the real way to integrate foreigners into a society is by controlling immigration in order to make it gradual. So not mass immigration, because mass immigration will create those parallel communities that don't really integrate well into the society. So by having people come little by little, this obviously helps integration. If I have a message to you all that are watching this, is talk with us. It should come from both sides, right? Foreigners also should try to integrate and to adapt to Korean society, obviously. But sometimes we experience a lot of difficulty and we're shy. You know, imagine yourself being in a random country in Africa. For whatever reason you decided to go there, but once you end up there, you'd wish that the people would be more inclusive and that they would talk to you and try to be your friend, right? Of course, this is wishful thinking, but I think that would help a lot of foreigners here that don't have the same support system as I do. For example, being married to a Korean woman, I also have my parents-in-law and my sister-in-law living right there next to me. So I'm fine, I'm good, you know. And now we had a young daughter 2 weeks ago, so I'm doing, I feel home here, but a lot of people don't have that. And they're living in small apartments in Seoul, as I used to live myself. And then secondly, we can talk about the aspect of having a job in Korea. For a lot of foreigners, obviously there aren't that many opportunities for people who don't speak Korean in Korea. And what ends up happening is that they get jobs where there aren't many Koreans that are doing these jobs. I'm talking about things that even I do. We as foreigners get opportunities that Koreans don't have much, which is, for example, appearing as extras in K-dramas, in dramas or movies or video clips, etc. Getting contracts as models. Sorry to break it down to you, but a lot of foreigners that come here to Korea, they weren't models in their own countries first, right? They came here and they saw this opportunity. They're like, sure, I'll do it. And the thing is, you cannot really blame them because it's good money. And anyways, they're not doing anything else, right? It's so hard to get a job in Korea, for example. So by doing this type of work, they end up being more and more alienated from Korean society. And at some point, they're like, oh, I feel lonely every day. I don't have this, I don't have that. I need to go back. Immigration is always hard. It doesn't matter if it's Korea or any other country. Don't get me wrong, right? Immigration is a very difficult process. And my parents have been through it. They came from Lebanon to Canada, and I was born and raised in Canada, and then I went through it in Korea. So yeah, you never really feel at home, but at the same time your home is everywhere, this type of feeling. So yeah, it's getting really cold and there's a lot of snow coming down, so I think I will end the video here, but maybe I'll do a part 2 of this once I think of other aspects. And let me know in the comments if you guys have any opinion on this topic, or if you've spoken to foreigners, or if you have been a foreigner yourself in another country. Tell me about these experiences. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.